Hello fellow booktubers, my name is Lauren, you're watching Dreams Books Courage, and today I'm doing a book discussion over I Was Here by Gayle Forman. For those of you who are easily affected by novels on the topic of suicide, then I wouldn't suggest that you read this book, and you might not want to watch this discussion just based on how much it affects you, but this will be a completely non-spoilery review for you guys. This was the third book by Gayle Forman that I've read. Previously I've read If I Stay and Where She Went, and I don't usually pick up novels like this because it is on the topic of suicide, and that's not something that I've personally dealt with, thankfully, and I just know that it would be a sad book, so I didn't really feel like I wanted to pick it up that much, but because it is by Gayle Forman, I knew that I really needed to, and I am very glad that I did pick up this novel. It's all about a girl named Cody, and her best friend decides to commit suicide, but her best friend, whose name is Meg, never really told her or showed any signs that she was going to commit suicide. So obviously this event was very traumatic for Cody to go through, and throughout this novel she's just trying to figure out why her friend would do this. They were very, very close to each other, they were like sisters, and so the fact that Meg never told Cody that anything was wrong is just a huge thing to Cody, and of course it'd be to any of us as well. I felt like Gayle Forman definitely dealt with the topic of suicide in a very beautiful way, but it also showed very raw emotions of how it feels. I thought that this was just the perfect length for this kind of book. I finished it in 2 days, and although the book overall was kind of a depressing topic to read about, I felt like it was definitely a topic that I did need to read about in order to develop some empathy for people who've had to go through this sort of thing whenever someone close to them has committed suicide. For those of you who are like me and you don't really want to read suicide books just because of how dark the topic is, then I would definitely suggest this one for you guys, because I felt like the way that it was dealt with in this book was just dark enough, but it didn't make you extremely sad or anything, and it was a very quick read, so you can just get through this book quite quickly and not really have to be in those emotions for such a long time. For me, and I think for a lot of you out there, this just reminded me like, what would I do if I was in this situation and my best friend committed suicide and they didn't even tell me anything was wrong? I would definitely feel the same way that Cody did. And I think it's very important for people going through this, or even if no one you know is actually going through this right now, to just tell your friends how much you love them and just make sure that they know that if anything is ever wrong, that they can come to you about it and talk to you about it, so then things like this don't happen. Overall, I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars because at times I did feel like it was kind of monotonous, the things that Cody was doing to try to figure out why Meg committed suicide, and it might be a bit just because it was so dark that it was just a sad book and I wouldn't want to read it very often, but I do think it is worth a reread. This was probably my least favorite book that I've read by Gayle Forman, but that doesn't mean that it was bad. It was still really good. I thought the writing was beautiful. Even though it is simplistic, it is also very raw, and I just love the way that Gayle Forman writes. So if suicide doesn't really affect you horribly, then I would suggest that you pick up this book because I felt like it did great on the topic of suicide and also on the topic of mental illness. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you've read I Was Here, then I would love to hear your thoughts down below. I'll see you guys next time. I'm gonna go get back to reading.